Hello everyone. In the previous lecture, we have studied about ray optics, definition of plane mirrors and spherical mirrors, and also about sign convention. In this lecture, we will continue forward with the study on ray optics. The first thing here is to understand that in the entire course of ray optics, we will be studying about paraxial rays only. As the name tells us, this word is a combination of two words called as parallel and then axial, which means these are rays which are parallel to principal axis. So the entire assumption in this course is only for paraxial rays. So basically what it means is that it means these are rays which are very close to principal axis as shown here. These are called as paraxial rays. Otherwise, the focus would be different. For example, as seen in this diagram, for rays close by, these light rays would reflect, or here it's a refraction in case of a lens, and they meet at this point here. If we look at light rays far away from the center, that is from this point, then these light rays refract and they meet somewhere here. So as the light rays are away from the principal axis, we get different focus points. So to avoid this confusion, we take only those rays which are very close to principal axis. These are called as paraxial rays. In case of diagrams, we cannot draw such light rays because it becomes difficult to understand from the drawings. So in the diagrams, we will draw the light rays far away only. That is, if it's like a concave mirror, then what we will do is we will draw light rays far away also. This is to make things understand only, but what I mean by drawing here also means that these are nothing but paraxial rays. It is just that the representation is not clear, it's not correct. Second point for this assumption is that for paraxial rays, we find that the angle which the light rays makes with normal would be very less. For example, if you look this as say center of the lens, then for this ray, for this light is somewhere here, this would be the normal. The angle made here, read out this, the angle made with a normal, this angle here is called as angle of incidence. If the light rays are very close to principal axis, this angle would be less. So compared with that case, compared with a light ray from this point to this point, it is clear that the angle of incidence is more than the angle of incidence in this case. So whenever the light rays are close to principal axis, the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection would be less. Also remember that for small angles, we can approximate sin theta as theta only. Cos theta is approximately equal to 1, and then tan theta is same as theta. So it means that for small angles, we can say sin theta is almost same as tan theta. So do remember that from now on, we will be assuming only paraxial rays. The next topic is relation between focal length and radius of curvature. Now this derivation, we are doing it for a concave mirror, but the same thing, the same derivation can be done for a convex mirror also, or for any mirror also. And second point is, even though we derive the expression for a concave mirror, the same formula can be used for any mirrors with sign convention. It becomes clear as to what it means after doing derivation. So we take up a concave mirror like this. I'm drawing a concave mirror. This is called as principal axis. The point here, this point is called as pole of the mirror. Somewhere here is center of curvature. Now in this case, we will take a parallel light ray, something of this kind. The angle which this light ray makes with the normal, this angle here, is called as theta, which is angle of incidence. So this light ray after reflection would pass through a point. The point where it passes through is called as principal focus. This is F. By second law of reflection, the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection should be equal. So this angle also is theta only. Do remember that in case of ray optics, always draw with rays. This is the basic diagram. Now what we'll do is, we will make a small construction. Let this point to be point M. So from point M, we'll drop a perpendicular onto the principal axis and let this point to be N. So by sign convention, we know that PO is minus F. P capital F is minus F, and then PC would be minus R. By sign convention, the light is going from left to right and we are moving from right to left. So these would be negative. Now if you look at carefully, this incident light ray and CP, these are parallel light rays, and CM is a transversal. So even this also would be angle theta only. If this angle is theta, then from triangle CFM, this would be the exterior angle. So from geometry, we know that exterior angle is equal to sum of opposite interior angles. This would be 2 theta then. Now we'll consider triangle, say CNM. That is, it's drawn like this. A triangle C like this. So this point is, say, point C. This is point N. This is point M. This is angle theta. Now from here we'll find what is tan theta. So tan theta from here is equal to Mn by Cn plus tan theta. I will consider triangle. I will do separately side by only. We will consider triangle CM, or we will consider triangle FMN. It's like this. This is what we considered. This is point F, this is point M, this point M. Angle here is 2 theta. From here, tan 2 theta is equal to Mn by Fn. Is what we get. Now, if we consider paraxial rays, so for paraxial rays, it means that the angle made would be very less. Let us consider, instead of this, consider light ray was falling parallel like this, falling like this. In that case, the angle which this make would be less. The angle here would be more or less. So the light rays are more and more close to the principal axis. The angle of incidence would be less, and also if you draw a perpendicular from this point will be close to point P. So for paraxial rays, the angle of incidence would be less, and also the point N would be close to point P. In that case, we know that tan theta is same as theta, and also tan 2 theta is same as 2 theta. We'll write them together now. Tan theta from here, that is theta, is equal to, we'll write it as mn by this cn. Erase it for a minute, and then this 2 theta is equal to mn by fn. We'll divide these two. We'll divide 2 theta by theta, that is equal to mn by fn divided by mn by cn. And from this gets cancelled, and also theta gets cancelled. Finally, what remains is 2 remains here. So 2 is equal to, it goes on top, it becomes cn by fn. But for paraxial rays, we replace points n with point P. So this becomes same as point Pn or Pc, because we're replacing point n with point C. Because for paraxial rays, the point n is close to point P, and do remember that for us P is the reference point. So in that sense, we replace point n with point P. You could have done it here also, that is, you could replace the points in here also. The idea is same, the answer will not change. So it becomes PC by PF. PC was minus R and PF was minus F by sign convention. So this minus becomes positive. So finally, what we get from here is F is equal to R by 2. So this is the expression for focal length and radius of curvature for a spherical mirrors. Even though we have derived it for a concave mirror, the same expression is true for any kind of spherical mirrors. Now do remember that the assumption here is for paraxial rays. Otherwise, the form is different for light rays which are far away from principal axis. Next, we will take up a very important derivation called as mirror equation. Now again, this equation or this relation is true for any kind of mirrors, but here we will derive it for a concave mirror only. So let's consider a concave mirror as shown here. Let us draw its principal axis. So this point here is called as pole. Somewhere here is center of curvature. Now what we'll do here is, we'll take an object and call as A, B. Now from this object, let us draw few light rays. One light ray, let us draw it parallel to the principal axis. And from here, this light ray, after reflection, would pass through a point. It will pass through a point like this. So this point where it passes through is the focus. Now to get an image, we need at least 2 light rays. We'll take one more light ray which starts from the point A and passes through the point C. Now this light ray since it is falling along the normal, this light ray after reflection would retrace its path. So this point here is where we get an inverted image like this. We call this as A dash and then B dash. So here this PB is the distance between the object and the pole, and by sign convention this would be minus u. The distance between the pole and B dash is the image distance, and by sign convention it is negative because light is moving from left to right. This is what is light direction while we are moving from right to left. This is point P. Also, distance between P to C would be minus r by sign convention, and distance between P to F would be minus f. Had you taken a convex mirror, then PC, that is r and f, would have been positive. So let's start derivation. So first thing is we will consider two triangles. Let's consider triangles ABC and triangle A dash B dash C. We consider one triangle here. If you want to draw, we can redraw this. It's like this. There's a point here, and then something like this, and here we get the image like this. It's drawn very differently here, but get the idea that this is point A, this is point B, this is point C, this is point A dash, this is point B dash. The distance is not comparable to the actual mirror, but then do get the point here. This triangle, we need to prove that these are similar triangles. First and foremost, the angle made here is equal. So angle ACB is equal to angle A dash C B dash, because these are vertically opposite angles. As the first point. Second point is the angle made here and the angle made here would be 90 degrees. That is because the object and image are always vertical. So angle BAC is equal to B dash A dash C is equal to 90 degrees. So in a triangle, if two angles are equal, then even the third angle should also be equal. Therefore, what we get is, okay, this is not correct. Please cut this point, because here the angles are different. The angles here should have been ABC is equal to A dash B dash C. And third angle we saw now, BAC is equal to B dash A dash C. So in a triangle, in two triangles, if the three angles are equal, then the property of triple A, we can say that triangles ABC. So this implies by triple A, that is angle property. The triple A property, you can say triangles ABC and A dash B dash C are similar triangles, are similar. So we know from high school that if two triangles are similar, then the corresponding sides are proportional. That means that AB by, do understand that for point A, the corresponding point is A dash. For point B, it is point B dash, and point C is common. So AB by A dash B dash is equal to, it will be BC by B dash C, that is equal to AC by A dash C. This is what we get. Now from here, this implies that this contains in it three equations. That is, it is like saying x is equal to y is equal to z. This means that x is equal to y is one equation in it, x is equal to z, and also y is equal to z. So this means in it three equations are hidden. A similar way, even from this we can get three equations. We will take only one out of this three equations. So what we'll do here is we'll look at the first two terms, that is we call it as AB by A dash B dash is equal to BC by B dash C. We are dropping the side with the hypotenuse. Remember that. We will call this as 1. We got one equation. We are doing the exercise here because we want to write in terms of P, because the reference point is P. So we need to express this AB in terms of P only. So we'll take one more set of triangles. It's not been drawn here. So we'll just draw the triangle. So we'll take up so this would be its principal axis, and then somewhere here an object A B was placed. We'll draw one light ray which would pass to the pole. Pass to the pole like this. So in this case, the angle here is angle of incidence theta. This would be the incident ray, and also light ray would be reflected, making same angle like this with the principal axis. So we'll call this as A dash B dash. This is the point P. Again from here also we can do the same thing as done earlier. So from triangles A, B, P and A dash B dash P, we can say these triangles are equal. That means that angle A, P, B is equal to angle A dash P, B dash. That is because I is equal to R. We used the properties of the laws of reflection. Second angle would be the angles made here. Again the angles here are same because the object and image are erect. So angle A, B, P is equal to angle A dash B dash P, which is equal to 90 degrees. And third point would be that since these angles are equal, it would mean that the third angle, which is angle at A and here, should be equal. Therefore we can say that angle B A P is equal to angle B dash A dash P. Again by property of triple A, as angle property, we can say that triangles ABP and triangles A dash B dash P are similar triangles. That would mean that the sides are proportional. So if we look at AB, then it would be by A dash B dash, that is equal to BP by B dash B dash, that is equal to AP by A dash B. Again from here we have three equations. We need only one equation. Again, the thumb rule is we will drop the term with the hypotenuse. In the previous case, we dropped the term which was AC and then A dash C. In this case, we will drop this term which is the hypotenuse term. So what is left out is AB by A dash B dash is equal to BP by B dash B dash. We will call this as 2. Now compare 1 and 2. From 1 and 2, it's obvious that BC, that is, so BC by B dash C is equal to BP by B dash B dash. Is what you get. We'll write the values of BC from the diagram itself as given here. Now from this, if we look at BC, so BC from here is equal to, it's equal to, it will be PB minus BC, that is BC, that is equal to BC is equal to PB was minus U and then minus of minus R, that becomes R minus U. So BC is R minus U, and then from here itself we can write out what is B dash C, that is equal to PC minus PB dash, that is, this distance would be the whole thing minus this distance, and PC was minus R and PB dash was minus V. So minus of minus V, that becomes V minus R. This is what is BC, B dash C. So put it back here. You know what is BC? BC was R minus U, this was V minus R, and PB was minus U, this is just P here, there's no dash here, this is just P, there's no P dash, and this would be minus V. So this becomes positive, and from here we'll cross multiply, then what you get would be VR minus UV is equal to UV minus UR. We'll bring the term UR this side. So what we get would be VR plus UR is 2 times U into V. That's what we get. We will divide the entire thing by UVR, that is, divide by UVR and by UVR. Big terms, what you get would be, it will be VR by UVR plus UR by UVR is equal to 2 by R. Again from here, VR gets cancelled, UR gets cancelled. So finally what remains would be, it is 1 by U plus 1 by V, that's 2 by R. But recall from the previous derivation that F is equal to R by 2 or 2 by R is 1 by F. Therefore what we get is 1 by V plus 1 by U is 1 by F. So this is the required expression. Do keep in mind that even though we have derived this for a concave mirror, the same equation could have been obtained for a convex mirror also. Next point is that whenever we use this mirror equation, whatever the mirror type is, we should again use with sign convention, which means if we use a concave mirror, in that case F should be again negative only. The numericals in ray optics are very simple, but then keep in mind the sign conventions, because that is where most students will make mistake. Now, even though this was derived for spherical mirror, the same formula can be used for a plane mirror also. That is because a plane mirror is part of an infinitely big sphere. So you can think that any straight line is part of an infinitely bigger circle. The same way, any plane can be thought of an infinitely big sphere. Now, for example, look at the Earth's surface. We know that the Earth is spherical, but in small regions like surrounding us, we find it to be flat. So even though the Earth is spherical, but since the Earth is so huge that small portions appear to be flat. So you can think that any plane surface is part of an infinitely bigger sphere or cylinder. With that in mind, if r tends to infinity, never ever put something equal to infinity, just write tending to, because you can't equate to infinity. If r tends to infinity, in that case f also tends to infinity, which means for a plane mirror the focal length is infinite. When you put it back in this expression, then we get 1 by v plus 1 by u is 1 by infinity. 1 by infinity is 0. So what we get is, we get 1 by v is equal to minus 1 by u. This implies u is equal to minus v. This is what we expect for a plane mirror. So the idea is that this equation is used for any kind of spherical mirrors. The next topic is linear magnification. Now, it is defined as the ratio of linear size of image to that of the object. So, mathematically, this m is defined as height of image by height of object. This is what is magnification. But we'll generalize this first. Magnification itself is of two kinds, called as linear magnification. Other kind is called as angular magnification. Now, linear is of two kinds. One is called as lateral, other is called as longitudinal. We will take up what is angular magnification in the later topic. For now, we will stick with linear. When I say linear, what actually we mean is lateral. To make more sense out of it, let us assume a concave mirror is present. This is its principal axis. Suppose, imagine that an object is placed erect. So we call it as AB, or height of object. If the image is from somewhere here, we will call this as A dash, B dash. In that case, the ratio of this height by this height is called as lateral. And instead of being placed like this, imagine that an object is placed along the principal axis. It's been placed like this. Then based on where it is placed, we may get different positions. Now, for example, imagine we get it something like this. So this is like point A dash, this is point B dash. In that case, what we get here, the ratio of this height to this height is called as longitudinal magnification. To obtain that, if you consider the distance between this point to this pole as u1 and from point B to the point pole as u2. So we're treating the two ends of the object as 2 points. Correspondingly, we get two images. We get image corresponding to u1. So this would be v1 from here to here, and this would be v2. And we take difference of v2 minus v1 by this difference. That is basically we're trying to find out ratio of this length by this length. That is also called as magnification. This is called as longitudinal magnification. So from now on, whenever I say linear magnification, it basically means it is lateral. That's what it means. It is given as height of image by height of object. We'll try to find what that in terms of u and v is. So let us consider a concave mirror with its principal axis. Let this point be the pole. We'll consider an object. We'll call this as A, B, and this object forms an image. Let the light ray be drawn to the pole. This would reflect, and somewhere here we get the image. So imagine we get the image somewhere here. This is A dash, B dash. Again, as seen earlier, we saw that these two triangles are similar triangles, which means we get AB by A dash B dash is equal to we get BP by B dash P. So these are similar triangles, but AB is height of object and this is height of image, because this would be height of image. But by sign convention it is negative because it is below the principal axis. It is equal to BP was minus U by sign convention and PB dash was minus V. So if you rearrange this, if you take reciprocal, then height of image by height of object would be minus of V by U. But by definition, this was called as magnification. Therefore, what we get is, we get M is equal to minus of V by U. This is called as magnification. Now, whenever M is negative, it means the object is, the image is a real image. Whenever M is positive, it's a virtual image. Also, the value of M would be equal to 0. The value of M would be less than 1. The value of M would be equal to 1. The value of M would be more than 1. The value of M would tend to infinite. So in this case, it is called as diminished. This same size is called as enlarged. So don't always think that magnification means always enlarged. It's a common term. Whenever M is less than equal to 1, it is called as diminished. When it is 0, the image is a point image. When M is equal to 1, it is same size, that is image and object are of same size. When M is more than or equal to 1, and more than 1 basically, it means it is enlarged. This is what is magnification.